Let's take you back to Parliament, where Energy Minister Matthew Prempe is briefing the House on the recent Akosombo spillage that devastated many homes in the 3 districts of the Volta region.
Increased dispatch of Akosombo power station. NAGO was also notified during the same period to prepare for a possible spill while they continue to monitor the situation daily. On September 5th this year, the revised forecast, based upon updated information, emphasized a higher likelihood of average to above average inflows, further increasing the potential for spilling on September 8th. And on that September 8th, VRA informed stakeholders of a possible spill in the coming days. Mr. Speaker, at this point, all the VRA emergency preparedness plan protocols were activated and notifications were sent directly to EPP responders and pre-identified stakeholders to hold themselves in readiness for a spill. On September 12th, a press release was also issued notifying the general public that a consistent rise in the inflow pattern and water level of the Akosombo Dam had been observed and that there was a need to commence controlled spilling. VRA sent notifications to all stakeholders as per the protocol on the commencement of the spilling from September 15th. Mr. Speaker, as per the notifications, VRA commenced the spilling on September 15th at a low rate for 23 days while they monitored the situation daily and served additional notifications to give the residents time to mobilize and move to higher grounds and or identified safe havens. In total, 5 local notifications were issued through the protocol arrangements. In addition, 2 national press advisories were issued. Mr. Speaker, contrary to the average rainfall outlook predicted by the Climate Prediction Center and the Center for Meteorological Application and Development, this year's rainfall pattern in the VRA catchment area turned out to be significantly higher than the long-term average by as much as 74%. In the second week of October, the inflows into the Akosombo Dam were observed to be as much as 400,000 cubic feet, or 11,300 meter cube per second. This was over 180% of the long-term average for that time of the year. Mr. Speaker, on 9th October, at the graduated spill rate of 90 cubic feet per second, the elevation of the dam was 276.43 feet, which was over 1 feet below the targeted upper mark of 277.5. That is for safe operations. Inflows above 250,000 cubic feet per second would each day translate into an approximately 0.2 feet rise per day for the next 5 days, and consequently exceed the confirmed safe limit for the operating of the dam. There was therefore the need to increase the spill rate to approximately 180,000 cubic feet per second to safeguard the integrity of the Akosombo Dam and prevent a possible dam break situation, which would have had an unimaginable catastrophic outcomes. Delaying the decision to increase the spill rate would imply risking the integrity of Akosombo and pond dams, the need to increase the spill rate to close to 300,000 cubic feet per second in the ensuing days to make up for the delay. This would have resulted in a much larger impact than what we have witnessed. This would also mean that some of the identified safe havens could no longer be used for that purpose. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, the Sogakope Bridge also stood of the risk of being compromised if higher volumes were spilled. The Sogakope Bridge, to refresh our memory, is the longest bridge in the country and a critical infrastructure that facilitates trade between Ghana and our neighboring countries. To avoid the risk of a dam break, which would also have resulted in a much greater catastrophe, the only option to the dam's operators was to spill at the recorded rate. In all these decisions, Mr. Speaker, the focus was to ensure that human lives will be preserved. Mr. Speaker, prior to increase the level of spilling on October 10th, VRA issued a press release on October 9th and also notified the stakeholders via the established communication platform, cautioning an increase in the level of spilling and the need for residents to move up to a higher ground. Meetings were also held with NADMO on the same day for them to activate the necessary protocols for immediate evacuation. The VRA committed an initial amount of 10 million Ghana cedis to support NADMO to commence evacuation, procurement, delivery, and distribution of relief items. Mr. Speaker, VRA has to date still continued in provision of the relief items through NADMO. Mr. Speaker, the relief items are shared, and even some members of Parliament do receive shares for the various communities in their constituencies. The coordinated efforts of VRA, NADMO, and the various state agencies led to the successful evacuation of close to 39,000 persons with no single, Mr. Speaker, with no single injury or death reported. The coordinated efforts also led to the preservation of the Akosombo Dam, the Sogakope Bridge, and the lives of many Ghanaians living south of the Akosombo Dam. Following the additional notification of the need to increase the spillage, the spill rate was increased from 90,000 cubic feet per second to 180,000 cubic feet per second on the 10th of October 2023. The NADMO and VRA team the day after were already on the ground providing relief items to those who have gone to the safe havens and helping others with evacuation. To date, Mr. Speaker, the VRA and NADMO have intensified the distribution of relief items and caught several relief interventions to help lessen the burden on displaced people. The Volta River Authority, Mr. Speaker, paused the spilling on 30th of October 2023. We are still observing the inflows, and if necessary, we may have to spill. Mr. Speaker, the flooding which resulted from the controlled spillage of the dam caused flooding in parts of Volta region, Eastern region, and Greater Accra regions in the 7 districts and affected 54 communities. Statistics from NADMO, Mr. Speaker, indicate that more than 39,000 have been affected. Thankfully, like I said, Mr. Speaker, no deaths. Mr. Speaker, aside from displacing people, the flooding has caused the loss of properties, livelihood, and economic sustenance of the people in the lower Volta Basin and in other communities, and also raised various concerns regarding the psychological, health, educational, and undergoing rehabilitation, restoration, and resettlement of affected persons. Mr. Speaker, the relief responses. Please permit me to provide an overview of the emergency response and relief interventions that have been put in place so far. Since the controlled spillage began, VRA assigned various directors to the respective districts to monitor the progress of relief items sufficiency, consistently, and the need for replenishment. Monitoring teams from NADMO and VRA are also assigned to aid in the distribution of relief items through the various safe havens in the affected districts. In consultation with the government, VRA has disbursed 10 million, which was subsequently increased to 20 million, to assist NADMO in the provision of relief support for the affected communities. Some of the items delivered include food and related items, drinks, mattresses, mosquito nets, coils, sachet water, used clothes, baby food, diapers, sanitary pads, toilet rolls, water storage tanks, solar lamps, sanitation services, medicines, and water filtration tablets. VRA has provided daily tanker service to some communities to supply water from the onset. It has also restored the community water systems in Avayemi in the Northern District, which was previously submerged. VRA has also installed a water service and treatment plant at St. Kitso School, one of the safe havens in Mepe. VRA has also created a 5 to 6 kilometer access road to St. Kitso Safe Haven to reduce the risk of persons using boats to traverse the flooded area. Together with ECG, they also restored electricity supply to St. Kitts, Kizito, which had earlier been cut off due to the flooding. To help address any emanating health concerns, VRA and ADMO supported the district health directorates with medical supplies and teams. Mobile clinics were also set up in the respective safe havens. Following concerns brought out by displaced brothers, robust monitoring mechanisms have been established at the district levels to ensure that relief items are promptly, if effectively, delivered to the intended beneficiaries. Government is committed to ensuring that these relief efforts reach those in need and reach them promptly. Mr. Speaker, permit me to also touch on the sustainable actions deployed by government to ensure that we speedily restore the livelihoods and lives of our affected brothers and sisters. Right from the beginning of the displacement, Mr. Speaker, a 30-member inter-ministerial committee has been constituted by the government started in October 13th to bring on board support and assistance from the Ministries of Energy, Finance, Local Government, Environment, Interior, Health, Sanitation and Water Resources, Defense, Roads, Highways, Education, Information, amongst others. The Ghana Army and Navy have been at post since the onset to provide support to various communities. Mr. Speaker, please permit me to shed more light on what could have happened if the VRA had not carried out the spillage the way it had or released the volumes it had. The plain truth of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that if VRA had not been proactive in spilling this year, the water coming into the reservoir would have overtopped Akosombo Dam, which would have had unimaginable catastrophic impact on the people. Since the year 2000, Mr. Speaker, there have been more than 200 notable dam failures worldwide, whose individual stories of impact and devastation assure no comfort, but only underscore why dam managers have to do all in their power to prevent compromising the dam's integrity. For dam operators, there's always the responsibility of maintaining the balance between ensuring the dam's integrity and protecting lives and property. Mr. Speaker, Akosombo Dam, according to records, holds one of the world's largest artificial lakes in the world by surface volume. This means our water dam is large enough to be seen from space. Mr. Imagine that for a second, if all that water is released to the lower dam. Recently, precisely on the September 10th and 11th, Libya experienced a dam break whose magnitude of devastation is only second to a 1975 incident in China. It just resulted in the death of estimated 11,000 people. Several others are missing, and where the dams were located is in absolute ruins. The storage capacity of these dams was of nearly 0.0225 billion meters square, which is only 0.15% of our Akosombo Dam. The cause of the dam break is attributed to the dam's operators who were not proactive enough to open the spillage when the consistent rainfall pattern threatened the swamp. Mr. Speaker, through the controlled spillage of Akosombo and pond dams, which has seen no deaths recorded and not personally affected, has seriously affected downstream communities in their livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, the way forward. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, the Volta River Authority is also actively engaging in additional resilient emergency response efforts, collaborating with government and relevant stakeholders on the development of a more robust emergency preparedness plan. The enhanced plan places a deeper emphasis on addressing impacts of climate change and considers the global warming clues. It is our pride to take additional necessary precautions to prevent and respond to dam-related incidents effectively, ensure such incidents don't recur. I would like to conclude, Mr. Speaker, by emphasizing that the VRA controlled spillage of excess water from Akosombo and pond dams between 15th September and 30th October was a necessary safety measure to prevent a highly possible dam break disaster. Spillage, Mr. Speaker, was the only option, and based on the available information and data, The spill levels were what was required to ensure the safety of the dam and prevent a greater impact not only on the communities downstream, but on the entire country. I extend my gratitude to each member of Parliament, civil society organizations, humanitarian organizations, religious and faith-based organizations, families of the displaced people, and the entire nation for their unwavering support. And I pledge that together we shall overcome these challenges and emerge as a stronger nation. Mr. Speaker, I did say last week, Wednesday, that the government has set up an inter-ministerial team that is monitoring the situation and intervening when required. Thank you for your attention.
Very well. Honourable members, the Honourable Minister for Energy has given us all about the Akosombo and Pond Dam spillage. In order to control the contribution, we will urge 2 from each side or 3 from each side. We want to give each side 3. Then we come to leadership. 3 from each side, then we come to leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with you that looking at the importance of this particular matter, you allow at least 5 from our side. We don't know if the members on the other side are not minded to contribute. That is okay. But on our side, at least allow us 5. 5 is okay, because this is a sensitive matter that we really want to articulate. Thank you.
Yes, leader.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes, please.
I guess the import of this statement is to brief us. It should brief us that is responding to the issues raised when the composite statement came to be read. Now there is an inter-ministerial committee working, the report of which certainly would feed this House. So this is a preliminary issue that is raising to particularly respond to the matters that were raised in respect of the spillage. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe maybe a maximum of 3 or 4 from either side will be enough for the time being. Mr. Speaker, the matter, indeed, we must admit, is a sensitive one. But clearly, like any other matter that comes to this House, we cannot have an inexhaustible list. We cannot. And that is why I'm saying that, and in any event, we have seen the measure